Hello there! Today is recapping day 79 of working on an untitled project, so let's hop right in. Before I do that, I'm just going to state that it has been a full 3 weeks since the last update. Sorry about that. I'll address everything that happened at the end, hopefully fairly quickly. But for now, let's hop in. So, there's a new projectile, the Ricochet projectile. As its name implies, it will bounce off of enemies and walls a couple of times, and yeah, it's neat. It also does so intelligently, so you can see that when it hits here, it tries to go towards the center of this enemy, but it can't go all the way due to the exact angle. And when it bounces over here, it targets this guy over here. So on and so forth. If I do that, or let's see if I can get this angle right. There you go. You saw that, angled that direction, at the very end there, which is not realistic, but is good gameplay-wise, because it makes it so you have a nicer, it's just a lot more easy to actually hit things with the Ricochet rather than having to line up exact shots to ping small targets. It's just a lot more straightforward. So that probably this shot here isn't necessarily realistic, but it feels good, and that's what's important here. Right now, damage and mass is turned off on it for testing purposes, for obvious reasons, and I also have not set the name of it. I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, and that. Oh, and that also needs to be set. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I haven't quite done yet. Yeah. So, right now the seeking is a bit aggressive. As you can tell, it's seeking 30 degrees in each direction for a target, which is a bit much, and can lead to moments like that, where that's a little bit too much, but it still feels good probably, so it'll take some refinement to see exactly where it should end up, but yeah. Anyways, on to the ramble section. So if you're just here for the core updates, that's that. From here on out, I'll be getting into some of the details and also talking about what happened over the past couple of weeks. So I figured I may as well go through, I didn't do this for the piercing projectile, but I figured I may as well go through the steps I took to make the Ricochet projectile. Just because it might be of curiosity to someone. So, basically, the update, so the physics update is the thing with the physics manager, which is the custom code for updating physics manually rather than using fixed update. And there's, I need, this is the function that gets, or the delegate that gets called, that then calls the functions for physics updating when it's for things that need to be on the tick, directly before the actual simulation of physics. So if you want to read through that, you can. I'm just going to skip past that and just get to what happens here, because all you need to know is that there is a delta time that gets passed in. And this isn't the fixed update, but it is effectively the fixed update. This is being done for the hit stop stuff, where the game slows down at specific moments, and I want physics to just still update very frequently during those times. Anyways, So yeah, so you start out by getting the starting position, and determines how far it needs to check, and that does a sphere cast all just straightforward, based on how far it needs to travel plus how long is the projectile itself. This is because it might have just hit something, and it might be bouncing off of that thing, and just a regular sphere cast would just return that thing. So the first thing that we do is check, hey, is the hit targets will be ordered, so we just check, hey, was the first thing that we hit the thing that we just hit a moment ago, if we just ricocheted? If it is, then just ignore it. Otherwise, we just hit a new object, so it will run the damage code, which I won't really go over because it's not novel in any way. It's just, hey, deal damage to this entity and spawn impact effects. And it also applies a force at that position that it hit, based on the mass and velocity. Or it applies an impulse, I should say. Then it subtracts from the ricochets, and if there aren't any ricochets left, then it destroys the game object and breaks out. And that's also for the reason for the checkup here, in case physics update runs twice between frames for some reason. Then set the position to where you hit, or where the sphere cast hit the target. Subtract from the distance that we have left to travel, and then run the reflect code, and then attempt to travel again. And if the distance is less than or equal to 0, then we just exit out. This allows for, this means that it won't freeze when it hits something, it'll keep going, within that frame. And you can also actually hit multiple things in a single frame, if that is applicable. This is the main reason for doing things this way instead of using normal physics, is between that and also I don't want to have collision resolution be a problem, and that would probably factor in and would like the projectile would rotate after colliding and so on and so forth. It gets to be a big hassle. But this allows for a projectile of any speed, and it doesn't have collision resolution issues. So the reflect code is where a lot of the magic happens. Basically, it grabs the normal that was hit, it removes the y value, and then it just does the normal, it just reflects the forward direction off of the normal to see, hey, what is the natural reflected direction? Then it shoots out raycasts in a cone. That would be, let me see. That would be this cone here. As you can see here, it just shoots out a raycast here, then on each side just going outwards to see if it can find anything to hit. And if it finds something, then the first thing that finds, it will look at that particular, it will look at the sought direction, which is calculated accommodating the maximum angle that can be that it can rotate away from the original reflected direction. This goes, again, this is the one that goes straight forward. These are the ones that go to the side, and if nothing happens, then it just looks at the natural reflected direction. So the Ricochet seek cast rotates the original reflected direction by a given angle, and then rotates, that rotates vector, and then it raycasts out in that direction, and if it finds a target, then the sought vector, it rotates the original reflected direction towards the where the entity actually is, or the origin of the entity, rather than the initial hit spot. That way, if you have a case where you say you have like a big enemy that just barely clips this one, it won't shoot towards this direction right here. It'll shoot, more towards this direction. It'll shoot towards the actual center of the entity rather than just the edge of the entity. Again, limited by the maximum angle that it can seek at. Otherwise it returns false. So yeah, that's how the Ricochet projectile works. I like the implementation. It seems pretty good. Still have a few questions to answer. I'm pretty sure what I have right now is correct for the distance here. But yeah, there are a few problems with how this is set up. I may not want a long projectile at all. I may just want it to have a trail effect and have it be a very small projectile, and then this doesn't really matter. Because as it stands, if there are two things right next to each other, it can immediately ricochet multiple times, which is a bit awkward. Let's see if I can kind of... Yeah, and like, it just sort of immediately dissipates, which, I mean, I suppose it would anyways. I'm kind of actually curious what happens if I up the ricochet, say, 50. Interesting. It seems to just, same basic thing. If I do that, will it... Okay. Oh no, hold on. That is controlled over here, so I would need to... Is it controlled? Yes, it is controlled over here, so I need to change that value. Yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, anyways, I'm just curious, so I'm playing around a bit. This is the ramble section. You do not have to be here. Anyways, so that's that. I may as well just quickly cover the piercing projectile as well, because I didn't actually cover that last time. It's very similar. The basic idea is, sphere cast forward to see if there's something that stops the projectile. If there is, limit the check distance to that, rather than whatever the default, velocity times delta time plus projectile length is. And then sphere cast all straightforward, for that distance. And then for each object that was hit, impact the target, which means deal damage to it and spawn impact effects. If there are no pierces left, then destroy and break out of this loop, because we don't want to keep doing things and say, hey, we already hit this guy. At the very end, translate the projectile forward based on the check distance minus the projectile length, because you want it to stop wherever it actually impacted the wall, or wherever it ended up, based on... you want to just travel velocity times delta time forward. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a lot more simple. Yeah. I think that's all that is. Anyways, so anyways, as for a few other things, like where was I? Am I back? And next steps. So where was I? So what happened was a combination of things. For starters, I have been struggling with the project a bit. Lack of motivation in general, just struggles to focus and really be into it as much as I was at the start. This seems to just sort of correlate with my ADHD, which is really unfortunate, and I am very frustrated by this. It's kind of debilitating, and I'm kind of angry because how am I supposed to function if what I love doing isn't captivating enough for me to stick with it beyond just a month and a half of work? I need some way to keep going despite it not having the same, energy that it, I initially had, or I need to have some way to maintain that energy despite time passing. So I'm going to see if I can try a couple of things. Mostly I'm going to try to talk about more with people I care about, because that hopefully will keep me invested in it and just keep me interested, and I can just sort of be into it, and that can be good. Crunchy Fox is still supposed to join in on the project. I was hoping she joined sooner than now, but some stuff has happened in her life, and so that's kind of a mess, and long story short, it may still be a bit until she properly joins in. But hopefully her joining in will help me a lot, just because I'll have someone else to talk to a bunch, and also someone I can make things for, like if she's more on the design side, so I can say, hey, what do you want to do with this, and then just make stuff for her. And I've always been good at that. I've always enjoyed that quite a lot. So having a client will be useful for me, I think. But that's, we'll see where that ends up, because right now, again, just there are personal issues on her end as well that I will not get into. Speaking of personal issues, a thing came up for me in interpersonal conflict. I'm not great at handling these sometimes, and it was very distracting and just sort of compounded everything that was going on. And so I just kind of shut down a bit, and it made it difficult to focus and function. And this is the issue with working alone, is without an external force telling me, okay, we are doing this today. Sometimes trying to do this all by myself is actually really difficult. Especially when I'm distracted constantly day in, day out by stuff like this. And so I kind of just gave up for a bit, really. But I'm trying to get back to it. So, am I back? I'm at least trying to be, and I want to be. I can't guarantee that I'll have consistent updates in the near future, but I'm going to try, and we'll see what comes of it. I may be rather spotty for a bit as I'm winding back up. I'm going to do my absolute damnedest to avoid taking another long break here. We'll see exactly what happens. No way to really tell what will happen until just maybe until the future comes, and whatever comes with it, and I can just try my best. Next steps. I've thought about it a decent amount, and I think I want to rework the project from using 3D physics and collisions and everything to using 2D physics. This is not an easy decision for me, because it's just it's going to be a fair amount of work to sort this out. It would be, I'm guessing it's about 2 days of work, of solidly working on it, not just an hour to a day, but 3 or 4 hours, 2 days at least, which is going to be a fair bit for me, just jumping right back in. It may end up being 3 days in actuality, but yeah. But I think the more I've thought about it, the more sense it makes to swap to 2D physics. 3D graphics will be kept, obviously, but I need to take all of this and rotate it like that. just need to do that for everything. Which, yeah, that's... it'll be interesting, at least. I think it'll actually be a bit fun once I actually get into it. Hard to say exactly, but yeah, it's just going to be an ordeal, and it's kind of like one of those... I feel like it's kind of like a mindless task that I can kind of just be into for a while, and it might be nice to come back to this because, you know, I just realized a bug. The seek direction seeks enemies. Sorry, the layer mask will seek enemies, but if it hits a wall first, it won't count that. It will so if you seek from here to here, it will say, oh, I found something, I'm going to go that way, even though there's a wall in the way. Oh dear. Well, I'm going to have to fix that. I'm just going to make a note of that on the side. Okay, note has been made, I will not forget. Yeah, I'm gonna fix that at some point here. It won't be the biggest deal, thankfully. Oh, you can actually see it right there. Right here. You can see how much it's angling itself upwards because there are enemies up there. And that is exactly what I was talking about right there. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, scientifics. Anyways, so next steps. What am I doing next? 2D physics, and after that, I might try doing some visual stuff for a bit. I might just enjoy doing that again for a little bit. So I might just give that a shot. I may also try some sound stuff. I kind of just want to change things up from what I was doing and just sort of explore a bit more. Because obviously, whatever I was doing with the Ricochet Projectile for a bit here, like, actually did a bit of the Ricochet Projectile the other week, and I just didn't record that because it wasn't completed, and I was just sort of crashing, and yeah, just everything was not going well, so I just sort of said, okay, I'll just complete it another day, and then I'll record on the whole thing. Clearly that wasn't enough to keep me invested at that particular time, so maybe just doing something else. This is something I need to get better at, I think. I think it'll help me a lot to just be better at just switching gears when I realize, hey, I'm not really into this at the moment. I just need to do something different because that will feel better, and, you know, yeah. Yeah. Fingers crossed things will go well from here on out, but obviously there'll be struggles, so, you know, I'll take things as they come, and I'll just have to try my best. That's all I can really ask of myself. That's all anyone can really do. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's everything, so if you have any comments, questions, ideas, or anything else in mind, leave a comment below. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.